Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina Studios with another live stream show. We're going to be talking fishing and answering your questions live during the show, talking all about what y'all want to hear, a little bit more about what's going on now, what's coming up, and showing you some photos and all that good stuff as well. So hopefully you're ready for a great show tonight. I know I am, and I'm excited for hopefully another great episode of our live stream show. We've got lots of good stuff to go over tonight. We just got out of a Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council meeting this week. We were Monday through Thursday sitting through virtual meetings. Unfortunately, couldn't fly out. Super fun. So it was a long week, but we are through it, and we got some updates from that. Plus, we want to talk about the weather. We're going to definitely dive into weather a little bit tonight, and probably should have warned Josh about that, and I forgot until just now. We got to talk about the weather. So lots of weather stuff to talk about, lots of fishing stuff to talk about. Hopefully you guys are ready for another great episode of the live stream show. Starting now. Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard. Hopefully you enjoy the show. If you like the show, even if you hate the show, make sure you like the stream for us. It really helps us out. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you click like on the video. Really helps kind of the algorithm pick it up and show it to more people. So make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you follow our page. If you're watching on YouTube, same thing, guys. Really need you to give the video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to our channel. It really helps proliferate the video across social media. Same thing on Instagram, Trovo, Twitch, anywhere you're watching. Make sure you give the video a like or a thumbs up or a double tap, and make sure you subscribe or follow our channel. Really, really helpful and super appreciated. Also want to give a shout out to those of you who are sending stars on Facebook. That is even more so supportive and super appreciated. Really kind of fuels our ability to do more cool things with the show. I saw Richard Blasak, Michelle Bryan, Larry White, D. Beers, and Ryan Kelly sending stars on Facebook. For those of you not on Facebook, the stars are a way for people watching on Facebook to send support. It's basically a way to kind of more fuel the show and help us to do more cool stuff. The cameras, the lights, everything in here, especially the computers, are extremely expensive, and the stars are just another way to help fuel that. Tony Barnes, D. Beers with 500 stars. Tony Barnes with 200. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Again, big support. Also, Gator Jim's Tackle. This show was brought to you by our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle. D. Beers with 500 stars again. Thank you. Our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle brought you this show, so make sure you stop on by to Gator Jim's, tell them hello, and tell them thank you for making the live show possible. You definitely want to make sure you stop in there, check them out. They've got tons of cool stuff, huge selection, huge inventory, great deals. Make sure you stop over and see our friends at Gator Jim's, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive, South in St. Pete. Tony Barnes, Chris Smalley, Jim Evans, and Brian Eakins, appreciate those stars, especially their Tim Dykes with 600 stars. Thank you so much, guys and gals, for the support. Now, also, I want to give a thank you to all our supporters out there, a part of our supporters group. Definitely want to make sure to give you guys a big thank you. That really makes everything we do possible and really fuels these live shows. The supporters group is a ton of fun. If you're not a part of it, you're missing out. The supporters group is basically a little bit more behind the scenes info. We kind of do our live video in the morning. We talk to the captain and crew from the 39 hour, but the supporters kind of get even more of a behind the scenes look and some videos as much as possible from the captains, the crew, myself, and a little bit more connectivity. Plus you get that supporters after show. And always a ton of fun in the supporters after show after our main live show. So check out the supporters group. You hear about information first. You get behind the scenes look. You get more communication. And you'll learn more stuff. Plus, there's some free gifts and occasionally some other free stuff. But you got to be a long-term supporter for the free trip. We gave away a free fishing trip, a free 12-hour last year to the supporters. We're going to do something again this year, but you have to be long-term supporters. I've seen people kind of jump in and jump out of the supporters group. When we give away something like a $200 12-hour trip, that's something that you have to be a long-term supporter because it's only $4.99 a month. So you can't just jump in for a month and try to claim one of those free fishing trips. So join the supporters group, hang out, stay there. Hopefully you enjoy it. You're going to be rewarded. Trust me. David Pruitt, appreciate those 500 stars. And yes, we've been troubleshooting a lot of different things, and we're hoping and praying that we've got that figured out. So one way to find out, let's find out tonight together. James McCullum and Anthony Barnes, appreciate those stars as well. Thank you so much, guys. Now, with that, we are going to get rolling right into some photos. But before we show you the photos, don't forget to comment and tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget, again, to give the video a thumbs up or a like. Share it with your favorite Facebook group on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, you can share it to your favorite fishing club, your favorite fishing group, or just on your timeline. If you're watching on YouTube, again, don't forget to subscribe. If you're watching on Instagram, you want to see the full screen and all these great photos we're going to show you and the weather we're going to show you. You do have to, again, make sure you go over to Instagram.com on your phone's browser, and then you can, once you're on the Instagram.com on your phone's browser, you can turn the phone sideways and see the full screen. So make sure you pop on over if you want to see that full screen instead of just the very middle. Bill Murray, appreciate those 50 stars. Jeff Reedy with 500. Thank you, buddy. Rich Fletcher, appreciate those 50 stars and appreciate your help making us our Fletcher's custom rods. They're looking beautiful. I really got to catch up with Fletch and get those rods into our shop. Super excited about that. Craig Robinson, appreciate those 50 stars, man. Thank you so much. All right, so with that, we're going to get into some photos and show you guys what we've been catching inshore. We're going to start inshore and then work our way near shore and offshore. So let's see what we've been catching inshore. Right now, we're seeing some nice black drum around the bridge. Did I just levitate? We're seeing some nice black drum around the bridges right now. A lot of black drum moving around our Tampa Bay bridges, the Gandy, the Howard Franklin, all of those big Bay Area bridges, Terra Verde Bridge, Sand Key Bridge, all good areas to find schooling black drum. Deep water, moving water is what you're looking for to find those schools of black drum. Nina McCormick, appreciate those 530 stars. Thank you. We're also seeing some nice flounder on the edges of flats, around our dock pilings, around those sandy areas adjacent to structure that will hold bait. So if you find a sandy edge to a flat, you find a sandy pothole on a flat, you find a sandy drop-off adjacent to a dock, that's a good place to look for those flounder. You got to work the lure slow and let that live bait sit on the bottom. Some of the biggest flounder I've ever caught is just bouncing a live shrimp on a jig head right around the dock at Hubbard's Marina, or right around the edges of a grass flat or potholes on a grass flat. You can find those flounder. Dana and Rich Fletcher, appreciate those 1,000 stars. Thank you so much, man. Also, nice big redfish lately. We've been seeing a lot of redfish. This is Don Gwynn and his son catching some big dog redfish. Don is active on our Salt Strong Insider community, and he's always posting big photos of redfish and taking his son out fishing and catching more of them. Our friend Eric from Salt Strong as well, catching some nice redfish too. Definitely a good time to get out there and catch those redfish on our local dock lines, bridge lights at the bottom. We're seeing a lot of redfish as well. And good time to get out there and catch the redfish. The dead bait on the bottom is a good option. We're also seeing some of them on the soft plastics. The live shrimp is a good option too. We're seeing plentiful redfish out on the flats, oyster bars. A good time to target those redfish for sure. They're following schools of mullet as well, and we're starting to see more and more schooling redfish. Snook action around our local area dock lines, mangrove shorelines, grass flats, a lot of these schoolie size snook, and the passes are still choked with the snook too. The tarpon, the juvenile tarpon hanging around the back bay areas. If you can get up there in the mouth of a creek or a riverbed, you are getting a good shot at those interior juvenile tarpon. Trout on the edges of flats, deeper flats, good area to look for those trout as well. So great options all the way around, inshore, near shore, to catch those trout. We're seeing them on the beach as well too. So good time to get out there and go inshore fishing. So hopefully you'll get a chance to join us sometime soon on the inshore game, because it is hot right now inshore for trout, redfish, and the snook. But really the biggest thing around the docks are the mangrove snapper. The mangrove snapper are super prolific around the docks, and it's kind of hard to get past the mangrove snapper to find you some snook right now. It's pretty crazy. Nice action near shore and offshore too, so we're gonna move our way there and show you guys what we've been catching near shore and offshore. So we just had a super light 39-hour trip this past Tuesday, because we added it because of the busyness of our other 39-hour trips. And the same thing happened early September. Our 39 hours and our 44 hours are super full. So we've added another 39-hour trip early September. That's September 6th. Now that is only 17 people on it. 17 people, September 6th. That's a Tuesday trip. The other trips around it have 45, 49 people. So they're more full, almost sold out. So we wanted to add another trip to kind of spread out demand and accommodate more people. So Tuesday, September 6th, another light load 39-hour trip. But this is from our last week's, this past week's light load 39-hour trip. And one of our crew members, Smitty, who works as a dock master, got out there and caught a nice big fat red grouper. Also want to give a shout out, Anthony Barnes, Tegwin Stockdale, Robert Bush, all sending stars. Thank you guys very much. Also seeing some big gag groupers still. We're seeing some solid gags on the Flying Hub 2. This one got kind of tangled up underneath the boat, so Captain Garrett jumped in the water and rescued this big old gag from underneath the Flying Hub 2. Beautiful fish. Sometimes when you're on the up tide side of the Flying Hub 2 and your line gets dragged underneath the boat with the tide or current, you're pulling up a big fish like a big gag. They can actually float up underneath the boat if you're not real careful, because they fill with air and gas, and as they get closer to the surface, they start floating up. So if your line's going underneath the boat, sometimes they float up and they can get kind of tangled up underneath the boat with the wing, because there's two wings underneath the Flying Hub 2. And that's what happened to this big rusty belly gag. So Garrett jumped in the water and rescued this gag so it could be harvested safely. But they get floated up because their air bladders are all full, so it's kind of easy. You just get up underneath the boat there and untangle the line, and they're already floating. So pretty cool that we were able to land that fish. And sometimes you'll see a photo of the captain or crew soaking wet holding the fish, and that's why. They jumped in the water to save it. Craig Robinson, appreciate those 50 stars. There's a nice nearshore gag. The Hub on its private charters have been crushing the fish. We had one of our captains that used to work with us. His name is James Dutton, Captain James. He used to work with us back when I was a crew member on the 39-hour trips. I mean, work smart, not hard, right, folks? James was a young man at the time, and I used to pick him up on my way to work because he lived on the way to the dock, and I would pick him up early morning. He'd come with me, and I'd put him to work and throw him a few bucks, and it made my job easier. It gave him something to do, and he made a little bit of money doing it, and he was hooked on fishing, and he got older and left and started running boats for himself, and has come back to Hubbard's Marina. So Captain James is running the Hub, crushing some nice grouper on private charters. And we're actually trying to build another hub called the Hub 2. So this is not the Flying Hub 2. This will be the Hub, and then Hub 2, and then we'll have the Flying Hub 2. And everybody's super excited about those 10-hour all days during dry dock when the 10-hour trip moves to the Hub. What we're discussing is upon completion of the Hub 2, what we're going to do is have basically a 10-hour extreme. So it'll be a 10-hour trip just like our 10-hour on the party boat, except for it'll be more expensive. There'll be less people going, and you'll be going on that smaller private charter boat. So basically a 10-hour split charter. And Captain James is super excited about that, and so are we. Basically an opportunity to get out there on the 10-hour trip and have less people on the boat, less lines in the water, smaller, faster boat, really target those fish even better. And we've seen it on the Hub. They've been crushing the fish, so we're super excited as we continue to expand our charter fleet and our charter captain repertoire of very experienced fishy guys. So super happy about that, and very excited as Hubbard's Marina continues to grow thanks to you guys. Some big triggerfish, solid gag grouper. You saw that nice blackfin tuna, big scamp, big red grouper. Tomorrow is the last day for these red grouper, unfortunately, but we've got plenty of gags, scamp, mangrove snapper to keep us busy. And we're excited about that. There's a solid scamp from this recent 39-hour trip that got back this morning. Some big lane snapper there near shore on our 10-hour trips. Here's one of Captain James' 10-hour, or it was a 12-hour private charter, limited out on red grouper by noon. And they ended up fishing for lanes and mangroves the rest of the trip, because they had caught a limit of red groupers. So we're excited. Lots of great options here at Hubbard's Marina, and they continue to expand as our fleet and group of captains continues to grow. And it's always awesome to see young guys getting older and getting back into running the boats here at Hubbard's Marina. So big news on that front. Now, we've shown you what we've been catching. Let's talk a little bit about the weather and get into that. Show you guys what we are coming up to on the weather. But Josh is giving me the signal. Before we get into the weather, we need to give away our first free trip of the night. You're right, Josh. Let's give away our first free trip of the night. We're going to give away our 10-hour all day for 2 guests first. 10-hour all day for 2 guests. Let's see who the lucky winner is of that 10-hour trip for 2 people. Judy Kelly. Congratulations, Judy Kelly from Northwood, Ohio. Make sure, Judy, you text us within 5 minutes to that phone number right there. Make sure you text us your full home address within 5 minutes to claim that free trip and prove you're watching live. So, Judy Kelly, congratulations from Northwood, Ohio. You've got 5 minutes or less to claim the free trip by texting us at the phone number on the screen. So we're going to move over to hubbardsmarina.com, our website. Under fishing trips here, we're going to go down and we're going to click the weather links page. On the weather links page, we are going to start thank you, Josh. My keyboard is dead. So we're going to start on our weather links page. Under fishing trips, scroll down, click weather links. That'll bring you to this page. We're going to start on the wind finder forecast here in the right-hand column. We're going to skip right out to the offshore forecast, 12-hour stream, 39-hour. You can see very easily it's going to be gorgeous over the next few days. The next basically 5 days, we see almost no wind, virtually perfect conditions, definitely scattered showers through the week. So Monday through Wednesday, we're going to deal with those scattered showers, but it means that it's a little cooler out there. So I'll take an overcast, somewhat rain chance condition in order to prevent the brutal heat that we've been seeing out there on the water. Craig Robinson, appreciate those stars, buddy. So a little rainy, but nice calm winds and no sea conditions through Friday. This weekend, they're forecasting higher winds and higher seas starting Saturday. Now, this is associated with tropical systems. That's right. We've made it all the way through August into September without really having any tropical disturbances, which is virtually unheard of, especially the last few years. We've had really active tropical seasons, but unfortunately, our run of lack of tropicalness is over. It is hitting hard. We went from 0 to 100 real quick. So we're going to pop over to our weather links page here, and we're going to show you on our weather links page. Back on the main weather links page, again, fishing trips, scroll down to weather links. At the very bottom of our weather links page, you can find this ultimate storm forecast. This is Mike's weather page or spaghettimodels.com. We went from virtually no tropical disturbances to now we've got 4, and one of them has a 70% chance of formation. Not great. So we are definitely going to see some tropical action in the Atlantic. Now, the idea is hopefully it doesn't make it into the western Atlantic where Florida is, but what we're seeing right now on our Mike's weather page models is not looking so great. So we're going to skip over here to, GFS 18Z, perfect. We're going to move regions to Western Atlantic. And we're going to skip over here. So no big deal, just a lot of tropical moisture. And then this is one lower level low that is kind of stalled out. And then this is, I think it's 91, Invest 91. And you can see here as we move into the early part of September, GFS has a lot of tropical action. And that is basically through the weekend. This weekend, we're going to start feeling it. So we're going to start feeling it there. September 3rd is when Windfinder has our weather picking up in our area. Remember, we just looked at that here. September 3rd, we see that east wind pick up. And this Windfinder model and this Windfinder forecast is based on the GFS model. This is the GFS model showing the tropical disturbances. You've got a tropical disturbance here. These are counterclockwise rotating. So you have 2 counterclockwise rotating storms on either side of the state of Florida. That creates a very strong easterly flow across our state. And our state's pretty dry through the weekend. So this is September right here. This is 2 a.m. September 3rd. This is basically 2 a.m. September 4th. So you can see that easterly flow setting up. And that's what's creating the chance for pretty strong winds this weekend. But it's early. So you might be looking at this like, oh, crap, what are we looking at here, folks? But you got to remember, it's August 28th. That model is showing September 5th. So that is 7 days out. And in tropical modeling, 7 days might as well be a year because things can change significantly. There's some upper level steerage that could play into that. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch that and look for consistency. Now, you can just cheat and watch Mike's weather page, pay attention to our Facebook stories and our Instagram stories where we'll be sharing some of Mike's stuff and also kind of sharing some of our own modeling. But it's consistency. That's what we're looking for. If we see a pattern that emerges and stays consistent, that's something to kind of keep our eyes on. But I just showed you the GFS model, and the reason why is because Windfinder that everybody uses and that we have listed on our website is all using Windfinder. So when you see these big spikes of wind for this upcoming weekend, it's all based on GFS. But GFS has been a terrible model this year, and it's been wrong a lot. It's been wrong more than it's been right. So I'm hoping that some of the other modeling, like the Euro model, plays out and doesn't fall in line with the GFS. So Mike did a live stream earlier where he said he was excited to see the overnight runs of the Euro model, which will basically show us what will happen. Because if the Euro model starts falling in line and copying what the GFS is saying, then we have something to kind of worry about or at least pay more attention to, because then the major models are starting to form a pattern or form consistency. And then that's something we got to watch. But right now, the two major models, the Euro and the GFS, are going two different ways, showing two different things. So not as much to worry about or really watch until consistency. It's just like those cones, the National Hurricane Center cone, the whole state or the whole Gulf of Mexico might be in the cone 72 hours, 96 hours out, because 3 or 4 days out, they still don't know exactly where landfall is going to happen. But 2 or 3 days out, that's when it starts to be real. And you got plenty of time, so nothing to worry about, no reason to cancel trips or cancel plans, but it's something to watch. So wanted to bring that to your attention. Welcome to hurricane season. It's been started since May 15th, but we really haven't had anything going on. It's been a slow start to our tropical season, but now we're kicking up. Speed is here, and it's definitely giving us a little run for our money right now. So giving us something to watch. So we made it all the way through red snapper season without tropical threat, which is a good run. But now it's over, and now we got to watch. So just wanted to bring that to your attention before we move in to some of our other topics. So let's see here. What do we got next? We showed you the photos. We showed you what the weather's doing. And now we want to get into a little bit of our events. Remember, September 13th coming up. September 13th, 7 p.m. We're going to be over at Krabby's on the Pass. Krabby's on the Pass. That's John's Pass. So right inside John's Pass, we're going to be at Krabby's on the Pass doing a fishing conversation with Old Salts. Don't want to miss that. That's 7 p.m. September 13th at Krabby's on the Pass. Then October 2nd, Sunday, we're waiting to confirm our next Bass Pro Shops fishing conversation. October 2nd, 2 p.m. That's not confirmed yet. When it is confirmed, we'll make the Facebook event and we'll send that out to you guys. October 11th, 6 p.m., we'll be at Bartow Ford with our next fishing conversation, and that's going to be with Captain Scott Moore. You do not want to miss that one. Captain Scott Moore is literally the legend. He is the guy who wrote the book on snook. Literally, there's a snook book on Tampa Bay fishing for snook, and Scott Moore wrote it. This guy has been around the block a couple times. He is legendary. I will be there listening in. I'm excited to hear him speak. That's October 11th, 6 p.m. at Bartow Ford. You don't want to miss that. And then January 11th, we'll be at O'Brien's Fishing Club at O'Brien's Pub in Brandon, talking to the O'Brien's Fishing Club. So don't miss that one either. That's going to be at 7 p.m. So lots of great events coming up. We'll make sure to add those events to our Facebook events page and also to the CaptainDylanHubbard.com website. The events page there, CaptainDylanHubbard.com. We'll make sure to update it as well. With that, let's get into some of your questions and see what you guys want to talk about. And again, want to give a shout out to all the new cool stuff we have in our shop. We've been working really hard on our shop page too. So before we get into questions, want to make sure we remind you guys about the Ink Vader jigs. We've got these new octopus jigs in our shop. We've got our new Hubbard's banana jigs in the shop. You don't want to miss out on checking the shop out at hubbardsmarina.com. You can click just at our main website. If you're on our main website, click shop and then click Marina Store, and that's going to bring you to shop.hubbardsmarina.com. We've got a ton of slow pitch and tackle, slow pitch jig fish and tackle, rods and reels, tackle. We've got tons of apparel. We've got major deals going on the shop on some of our salinity gear, saltwater hippie gear. We've got sunglasses, souvenirs, tackle, rods, reels, and more. Definitely want to check it all out. If you haven't done so already, you are missing out. We've got lots of really cool new lures in the shop. Let's see if I can find it. Soft baits. It's got to be a soft bait, right? I don't know. We'll probably have to search Ink Vader, right, Josh? No? All right. Josh knows. I don't. I'm guessing. You can search for it, can't you?
Yeah, you can, but it's under a slow pitch jigging.
It's So I lost that argument apparently. So the Mustad Ink Vader jigs are really, really cool octopus jigs. They actually have a lure or a tablet in there that emits ink and scent. So these are not slow pitch jigging jigs, so we'll move these around when we have an opportunity, but they are pretty darn cool. They work really, really, really well, and Will has had a lot of success fishing these jigs for mangrove snapper. They go all the way from 1 ounce or 3/4 ounce all the way up to 9 ounces. So we've got lots of different options for you on those octopus jigs, and they are definitely a super unique lure, super cool soft plastic that's going to really work either vertically, but really how I would work it is casting it out and bouncing it along the bottom back to the boat. So more of kind of like a bucktail, how you would work a soft plastic bucktail, trying to cast it out underhand as far as you can away from the boat and then bounce it along the bottom back to the boat. You can work it vertically, but I wouldn't, because you're going to end up getting tangled, in my opinion. And then you also have those new banana jigs from Rogge's Rigs. We've got a huge variety of those in the shop too. So lots of new lures and jigs. We have a whole slow pitch jigging section. We have now UV lights in the shop. There's a whole black light section. It looks like Spencer's Gifts in the back corner of our shop now, from all our slow pitch jigs lighting up. So don't miss out. Come out and check out all the new lures and jigs in our shop. And don't forget, we have all the stuff you need: bait, beer, ice, tackle, and more. If you want to get out there on the water, we are a one-stop shop. We're a small tackle shop, but we're mighty, and we have everything you need to get you on the water. If you want to spool a reel, You want to buy a certain off-brand top. If you don't want to buy a Daiwa reel with a Hubbard's Marina custom rod and you want your reel spool, don't come here. Go to Gator Jim's Tackle. But if you want a Hubbard's Marina custom rod or a Daiwa reel or some of these unique offshore stuff that we carry, we got it in our shop. If you want something inshore fishing wise or something, you want to see a bigger selection, Gator Jim's is the place to go, because we don't have a big selection. We don't have a big shop, but we have what you need for our trips. If you go on one of our trips, you need tackle for our trips, we got it. Spencer's Gifts. Yes, that's right. If you're my age or older, you know what Spencer's Gifts is. Do they still have those in the mall?
Yeah.
Is there even a mall anymore?
Tyrone.
People still go there?
It's awesome.
That's crazy.
Because all the little kids don't hang out there anymore.
I don't think anybody does. I think COVID killed malls. COVID and Amazon. All right, let's do some questions. How does pressure relate to fishing? Josh, pull up a photo of a snook. Can you pull up a photo of a snook quickly? Let's see. Let's time him, folks. We put him on the spot. Inshore photos. There it is. So, how does pressure relate to fishing? Hugely. Pressure relates to fishing incredibly because, zoom in a little bit for me, Josh. All the way, yeah, right on the fish. So see this nice black line right here, folks? This is what's called a lateral line. It is most easily and clearly seen on a snook, but every single fish that swims has a lateral line. What the lateral line is basically a barometer. It senses pressure. Fish overall have terrible eyesight. Most fish have extremely bad eyesight. There's only a few fish that have good eyesight, and even then, it's not really great eyesight, because you and I mean, some of us out there have 20/20 or even better. But if you go diving, you really can't see that far underwater, even with perfect eyesight, because there's algae, there's turbidity, there's things suspended in the water where you're not going to be able to see very far. Sometimes we have 80, 100-foot visibility. It doesn't last that long, and it's not super common. But yeah, we sometimes have pretty good visibility. But for the most part, off the Gulf Coast, we have 20 to 40-foot visibility, maybe 20 to 60-foot visibility. We don't have a lot of visibility. These fish down there, they have even less because they don't have as great eyesight as you and I. So these fish rely heavily on sensing movement, and they sense movement based on pressure changes in the environment around them. And that's what that lateral line, that black line down the side of the snook that I was showing you, and every single other fish, grouper, snapper, amberjack, everything, hogfish, they all have that lateral line. It's not as noticeable on some of those other species, but they sense pressure changes, which helps them to sense movement. So really, they sense movement more than they see movement, just like you and I. So you and I, if I asked you, did you see something move, or did you feel something move, or did you notice something move? A lot of us, peripheral vision, you can be looking this way, but you'll see something move over here. Out of the corner of your eye, you sensed movement. Your brain picks up. Your brain focuses on what's in front of you. You get tunnel vision, but you still have peripheral vision, and that peripheral vision will sense movement, and it keeps you situationally aware. Some people can practice it and be more situationally aware than others, but you sense movement, and these fish, they do that not with eyesight as much as they do pressure changes, because they're submerged in water. They're under a lot of pressure. Every 33 feet of water is another atmospheric pressure. You and I at sea level, we have 14.7 pounds of pressure, one atmosphere of pressure on us. Every 33 feet you go down or descend in the water, you have another atmosphere of pressure. So at 99 feet of water, you've 4 atmospheres of pressure, or 14.7 pounds times 4. And so that fish down there is under a lot of pressure. If he has a big predator fish move past him, that fish displaces water, and as it moves past him, that displacement of water is then felt in that lateral line or sensed in that lateral line, and they can thus sense movement very sensitively. So to answer your question, pressure changes extremely affect fish. And that's why on our weather page, if you go to hubbardsmarina.com and click weather links, on the weather links page next to all our super helpful weather links, at the very bottom we have a video called How Weather Affects Fishing. And that goes really in depth into pressure changes and how they affect fish. Static barometer is never good. Static high, static low, not great. Moving barometer is best. Falling barometer is the best. A rising barometer, still fish are feeding. But you got to remember, don't get caught up in that, because that's only one of 100 variables. Water temperature, water clarity, salinity level, chlorophyll level, water temperature, pressure, moon phase. There's a lot of different things that go into whether or not the fish are going to feed. So many people get wrapped up into, it's a high pressure and the moon phase is this much and I'm not going fishing because the water temperature is this. You get too many variables, and if fishing's not a science, yes, you can make educated guesses, and yes, you have an idea of whether the fish are going to cooperate or not, but it's not a science. If you're available, get out there and go fishing, because remember, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too busy. So if you're available and you have the opportunity, get out there on the water, and a lot of times you can still have a great time, even if some of those variables are stacking up against you. Christine Schrock, appreciate those stars. Thank you so much, Christine. Next question. When is a good time for hogfish? Hogfish bite best in cooler months. We find hogfish all year. We catch them all year round, but they bite best in months that are a little cooler. October-ish through March, April-ish, depending on water temperatures. When it cools down, we start getting those cold fronts. That concentrates the hogfish on ledges. Hogfish spawn out in soft areas away from the hard bottom. They live in these little harems, one male to 5 to 7 females, and they spread out a lot over soft areas, shell bottom. But in the cooler months, when we start to get these cold fronts, it concentrates the hogfish. They can't hang out there on that soft shell bottom or sand bottom that gets stirred up from cold fronts with bad weather. They have to go seek shelter at some of those 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 foot ledges near shore. And that's what concentrates those hogfish. When we start getting those hardened down fronts every 3 to 7 days, October through April, March-ish, it concentrates the hogfish on those structures where they hide out for the winter. And it makes it real easy to target them more with hook and line, lighter tackle. So best time for hogfish is when the water is cooler, the air is cooler around the fronts. And fish bite best right up until the front and a couple days behind the front once the water calms down and clears up. Because remember, pressure change is only one of the variables. If it's super murky and stirred up from a big, strong cold front, the fish aren't going to feed even though that barometer is rising. So behind a cold front, you got to wait for the water to calm down and then clear up and everything to kind of go back to homeostasis. So few days behind a front, depending on the strength. A real strong front, it might be 5 days. A weak front, it might be 2 or 3 days behind a front. But always right up until the front comes through, good fishing. So before a front, a couple days following a front. Let's see. What other questions? Ooh, creating a bar called the Hogfish Harem. I drink there. I drink anywhere, though. With slow pitch gear being so light in terms of line weight, guys, gals, there's no such thing as a rod dictating your line weight. So many people are like, well, I'm putting 80-pound line on my rod. I need a rod rate, or on my reel, I need a rod rated for 80 pounds. I'm like, bro, you bought a Penn reel, and that Penn reel only has 20 pounds of drag, if that. So really, you could put 800-pound line on that reel and put it on a 25-pound rated rod, and you'd be fine. It would never break the rod because the reel's only rated to 20 pounds of drag. Remember your drag rating when you're looking at a rod. If you're going to get a rod and reel, if your reel is rated for 30 pounds of drag, you only need a rod rated for 30, 40 pounds. People will buy a reel with 40 pounds of drag and then, I want this 100-pound class rod. Why? You lose sensitivity, you lose ability to feel a bite, and it's heavy. Go with the lighter, more sensitive, more high-quality rod that you're going to be able to feel the bite and feel the fish and feel the line and have better connection to that hook and lead on the bottom. So remember your drag rating when you're trying to find a rod. You don't need a rod over your drag rating. Also keep in mind, these slow pitch jigging rods are not rated to line. If you find a rod that's rated to line, it's not a slow pitch rod. Slow pitch rods are rated to the gram jig. So your slow pitch rod is going to be rated 50 to 200 or 150 to 500, and it's based on the grams of the jig, because the slow pitch game, the slow pitch rod, doesn't give a rip about the size or strength of the line that you have on your reel. It is giving you the dimensions on how much that rod can recoil. You have to load the jig, and the rod has to be able to recoil and give the jig the action that's required to entice that fish to bite. So all true slow pitch rods are going to be rated on grams, not lines. So if you find a jigging rod that says, oh, it's rated to 200-pound test, it's not a slow pitch rod. It's a speed jigging rod or a vertical jigging rod. And there's a lot of those on the market, and it confuses a lot of people. So don't feel bad. It confused me for a really long time, too, until I started getting into it more. Michael, Jimmy, and the Jimmy family, appreciate those 1,200 stars. Thank you so much, guys. And Michael, I love your new hood. Beautiful, beautiful addition to that beautiful car you have. Let's see who won another trip. We're going to give away a 5-hour half day for 2 guests. 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Let's see who won that 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Tiffany Amber from Illinois. Tiffany Amber, congratulations on that lucky win of a 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Let's see our next question. Next question is, have you or will you in the future schedule a Friday extreme slow pitch jigging trip for people who travel from Atlanta or further? So, to be honest with you, I've had that question quite a few times. And to be honest with you, on Fridays, I do a news forecast in the mornings, and I like to go on these slow pitch jigging trips, so they will never be on a Friday, at least right now. And Saturday I do a radio show, and Sunday I do a live show. So they're not scheduled Friday, Saturday, or Sunday because I want to go on them. So I've kind of scheduled these slow pitch jigging trips around my schedule right now, and we were just trying it this year just to see how it would work, to see what the interest would be, and it's worked really well. A lot of people are interested in it. So we've expanded our slow pitch jigging selection in our shop. We have literally everything on the wall is all slow pitch jigging now. So we have a huge selection of slow pitch jigs and slow pitch rods and slow pitch reels, and virtually everything you need. Split rings, swivels, split ring pliers, jig bags. It's crazy. I've gone a little crazy, if you will. So we are going to offer more slow pitch jigging trip only next year. So next year, when we plan out our schedule, most likely we'll probably be doing 2 or maybe even 3 of those trips a month. This year we've only done 1 a month, and they've all sold out very early, really too quickly for people to get an opportunity to do them, and we've turned a lot of people away. So next year we're going to open up more capacity and ability to do them more frequently. So I'll still schedule a few of them around my schedule so I can go on a few of them, but we'll offer them more frequently at a little bit more open times. Now, will they be over the weekend? Probably not super frequently because we're privately chartered mostly on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the Flying Up 2 is a private charter boat, so we're not going to have a ton of them on Fridays, but we'll keep that in mind and try our best to get them closer to that option for you, Tony. If someone catches a barracuda, do you allow them to keep it? Barracuda have no open season or size limit. You can keep a barracuda if you'd like. Is it great eating? I wouldn't keep one and eat it personally. I've eaten barracuda. It's not terrible, but it's not super great either. But you can eat barracuda, and they are pretty good eating. Have you guys heard of Seymour mapping? I know you guys have great fishing spots, but Seymour mapping for the middle grounds, I think, would be a benefit for you guys tremendously. Yes, I've heard of Seymour maps. I've heard of Strike Lines charts. I've heard of Garmin relief shading. So Seymour maps is probably not the one I would use. I would use Strike Lines. Really, really cool people over there at Strike Lines, and good guys, hardworking young guys, super smart, and they didn't kind of try to screw our fishery. Seymour Maps did it very unethically, and I would never, ever spend money with Seymour Maps for that reason. They did a bunch of ads, basically, explore Steamboat Lumps, and Steamboat Lumps is a sanctuary where you're not permitted to fish, and they did some very unethical advertising, and I would never suggest or ascribe to or spend money with a company that was advertising so incredibly unethically and encouraging poaching in a gag grouper estuary and nursery. That was closed to harvest, and yet they continued to advertise it even after being discussed with them. So Strike Lines charts is way better and the same product, and it's significantly better. And then Garmin is awesome. We work with Garmin already, and we have Garmin relief shading on our boats, and it's the same thing as Seymour Maps. So Seymour Maps, Strike Lines charts, Garmin relief shading, all the same thing. If you have Garmin products like we do, Garmin is super easy to use, super intuitive, and it works really well. Strike Lines charts works with Simrad and I think Lowrance and a couple other units. So if you don't have a Garmin unit, you can't get the Garmin relief shading, go with Strike Lines. Do not buy Seymour Maps. Don't do it. I'm good, man. Thank you. So, do you think Russell from Fox 13 will be ever not too busy to go fishing? That's a good one. So Russell's a great guy. He's not a big fisherman. Dave Ostenberg, he's a fisherman, and I think I will eventually get Dave Ostenberg out fishing with me. Dave owns property on a lake, and I'm not going to give out any specifics, but he goes on vacation and goes bass fishing and trout fishing and brook fishing. So Dave's a pretty fishy guy. So Dave Ostenberg, I think we can convince to get out there on the water. Russell, I think one day, potentially in the future, the studio might ask him to go fishing. And I think we might end up doing a Fox 13 good day fishing trip because they set it up and they kind of make it a big thing. But do I see Russell Rhodes being like, hey, Dylan, let's go fishing this weekend? Maybe. Who knows? You never know. But I see that happening with Dave Austenberg first. Dave's a really cool guy, and so is Russell, but we all have our own hobbies. Like, I'm not going to go, I don't know what example I was going to give, but I have my own hobbies. I like whiskey. I like firearms. I like fishing. Those are my hobbies. Might read a book every now and again when my kids aren't screaming. But we have our own hobbies and we stick to them, and that's what we're comfortable in. We stay in our own boxes too, you know, your own comfort zone. And if you're not comfortable going offshore fishing, hey, there's other types of fishing you can enjoy. Bass fishing. How much longer do you expect mangrove snapper to be so dominant in the pass? As long as the water's hot. Water is hot, so basically through September into early October. Once we get into October, days start getting really short. Water starts cooling down. Those mangrove snapper will start leaving and not being so dominant in the pass. Next question. Oh, we got to give away our Salinity Gear gift pack, and then we'll get into our last couple questions of the night before we wrap up. So Salinity Gear gift pack. This is a free hat and sticker set up from our friends over at salinitygear.com. If you haven't checked them out, definitely do so. And Salinity Gear supplies all of the Hubbard's Marina custom apparel, basically. Shirt I have on that I love, that I wear all the time, my supporters shirts. The supporters group members got a bunch of them for free. It was all made by Salinity Gear. Karen Smedbron from Wisconsin, you just won a Salinity Gear gift pack. Congratulations. Text us your full home address and what shirt size you'd prefer, and we'll get that mailed out to you from our friends at Salinity Gear. So, again, what? Oh, yeah. Provide us with your shirt size you prefer, and if you would like a hood on that performance wear outdoor shirt. Want a little hood to keep your head cool and shaded? Let us know, or non-hooded. So hooded or non-hooded, and your preferred size and your home address. Karen Smedbrom, congrats on your win. We're going to get into a few more questions, then we're going to wrap this show up and give away our last free trip of the night, and then start our supporters after show. So make sure you hop over there if you're a supporter. Is there any chance they will open a red snapper season again this year like they did last year? Finally! I spent 4 days in a National Marine Fisheries meeting, and no one wanted to ask any fishing regulations questions tonight. So, Chris, thank you. Yes, there is a very strong chance. It was brought up and talked about at length at this past week's Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council meeting, and there is a strong chance of a fall red snapper season for us at Hubbard's Marina, and any federally permitted for-hire charter boat or party boat, as long as there's quota left. So Wave 4 data will come in early October. It has to come through QA, QC, quality assurance, quality control. And then around mid-October-ish, the agency will know whether or not there's quota left. And if there's quota left to be caught for our federal for-hire fleet, we'll have an announced fall season. So if they get that information mid-October and disseminate it, most of the time, most likely, we should see a season potential, maybe fall season around late October, early November. So again, most likely what we're going to see, if we see one, is a late October, early November fall red snapper opening for federal for-hire red snapper, if there's quota left over. And that's Wave 4 data. So January, February is Wave 1. March, April is Wave 2. May, June is Wave 3. Wave 4 is July, August. Takes about a month. So end of September, that Wave 4 data starts coming in preliminarily. Takes about 2 weeks to go through QA, QC. So we should probably see that information start coming out mid-September, late September. By mid-August, the agency will be able to announce or denounce with some certainty whether or not we will see a fall season of red snappers. So by the start of our October Golf Council meeting, we'll know and we'll be able to announce whether or not that fall season is going to happen. But yes, there is a possibility if there's quota left. Christopher Bass, appreciate that, buddy. Candace Bass, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in, Candace. Hopefully you're having a good night. Appreciate you watching. Make sure you stay hooked on that tackle box instead of your Xbox. Next question. Do you have any updates from your meetings that are going to be opening for a small fall window for red snapper? Yes, we just answered that one. Thank you for all you do, Captain Dylan. Very impressed. How are your shark trips doing? Shark trips are brutally honest. How we describe our shark trip is hero or zero. Most of the time we're heroes, but there are the occasional trips where you're zeros. And what I mean by that is with the shark trip, you go out there, you anchor up, you start chumming. Sometimes we'll catch 2 sharks and 2 Goliaths, or we'll catch 2 Goliaths and 4 sharks, so we'll catch 10 sharks. And then sometimes you go out there, you anchor up, and you chum, and you chum, and you chum, and you chum, and you sit there, and you chum some more, and just the sharks and fish never cooperate or bite. It's not often, but it does occasionally happen. We have been catching some big sharks. We have been catching some good numbers. There's been trips that have been canceled due to the rain and weather, but for the most part, the shark trips do pretty well. That's why we still offer them. We used to do a 12-hour day trip on the party boats, and we don't offer that anymore because of I felt the overall sentiment of that trip was negative, and we didn't continue to do well. So that's why we stopped offering it. So we wouldn't offer a trip if we continually don't perform. Overall, we do pretty well on the shark trip. It's a good trip, but there are the occasional trips that are zeros. So keep that in mind. It's not a trip you leave with a bag of meat. Even if you catch 10 sharks, you're not going to take home any meat. We don't kill any of those sharks. It's all catch and release because of the issues that surround killing a completely illegal shark. The issues that we've had with that in the past, we just don't mess with it anymore. But yes, all catch and release, photo release, but a good time for sure. I'm still a little confused, so we'll need a cold front to cook the water down before they leave.
This is in regards to the mangroves in the past.
Oh, so mangrove snapper really, really like warm temperatures, and they spawn in warm temperatures. So mangrove snapper life cycle. Let's start from the beginning. So they start as phytoplankton in the Gulf of Mexico. They get blown into the estuary inshore as age 0, which is basically like an inch long, inch and a half long phytoplankton. They get embedded into our estuaries, our mangrove roots, our seawalls, our oyster bars. They grow up and get bigger. They hang out in those oysters. They hang out in those mangrove shorelines along those seawalls under docks until they get about 8 to 10 inches. And about 8 to 10 inches, that's when the mangrove snapper are triggered to move offshore, out of the estuary, out of our inshore waters, off the beaches, to those rock piles and ledges in 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet of water. Then typically about 14 to 16 inches, then they start venturing deeper, and then they start entering the fishery and becoming more sexually mature. But mangrove snapper, a majority of mangrove snapper are sexually mature between 10 to 12 inches, and when they're sexually mature, that's when they head offshore to join spawning aggregations and to spawn. So this time of year, we see big concentrations of mangrove snappers because they're super aggressive, and this is the time of year in which they start spawning. And then those bigger fish will continue to migrate further offshore and continue to spawn, while the smaller fish go back to the estuary to get bigger before they can make the migration offshore. So that's all based around water temperatures, length of the day, whatever you might believe it's related to most. But typically the spawn kind of peak is around June, July, August, and then it starts to slow down a little bit in September. By October, it's over. So we should see good mangrove snapper through the month of September. As we move into October, cold front starts, days get shorter, water temperatures drop, those mangrove snapper get less prolific inshore. Offshore, we still see good concentrations and a good mangrove snapper bite. They really stay steady almost all year round offshore. But inshore, they spread out and don't get as active once it cools down. And we see more sheep's head. We give way to sheep's head concentrations as it cools down. I think we might have time for one more quick question. Talk about losing lanes again. We aren't losing lanes again. That won't close. My question more about techniques of keeping big grouper out of their hole while slow pitch jig fishing. Use double assist hooks. In finesse, I mean, there's not a lot you can do with a slow pitch jigging rod and reel to keep a big grouper out of its hole. You want to make sure you're using 20, 30-pound braid. I like 30-pound braid. I like a 50-pound fluorocarbon top shot on top of the maybe 10, 12 feet of fluorocarbon on top of the braid when I'm slow pitch jig fishing. And trying to use a little heavier rod, like a Power 1, Power 2, might help give you a little backbone. But there's not much you can do other than buying a really nice reel. Because when you're slow pitch jig fishing, all your power comes from your reel. You're holding the reel with both hands typically. So I like the 35JH by Daiwa. It's a Saltiga 35JH because it has 40 pounds of drag, and I got a lot of power in that small reel. You're not going to get power from your slow pitch jigging rod. There's no jigging rod out there, slow pitch jigging rod, that's going to have enough backbone to horse a grouper out of the rock. You're enticing that grouper to come up off the bottom and bite your jig. And typically you have an assist hook in the front and an assist hook in the back. A lot of times it's double assist hooks. So you're getting 2 hooks in the fish's face a lot of times and another 2 hooks down the side of the fish's face. So when you get them clamped up like that, it really kind of immobilizes them a little bit. They're not able to more fully fight because they've got 4 hooks in them or 2 hooks in them. And that length of the jig and the assist hooks is immobilizing that fish. And then the power of your reel. If you want to stop them from getting you hung up in the rocks, get a stronger, more quality reel with more drag capacity. That's going to help you a little bit. And then just trying to make sure you set that hook as quick as you can. And a little bit of luck. That's what it comes down to. A little bit of luck and a nice reel is going to help you a lot. We are out of time tonight, guys. We've got a lot more that we're going to try to get to here, guys, but unfortunately we're out of time. We do have our supporters after show starting up at 9:45. So we're going to start off our supporters after show 9:45 a little earlier tonight because I got to be at the Marina at 4 a.m. tomorrow for our slow pitch jigging trip. So a little early start to our supporters after show. If you're not a supporter yet, you should become one. It's pretty cool. You get a lot of behind the scenes information. You get a lot more communication, and you don't want to miss out. If you're not a supporter yet, check it out. Josh is dropping the link in our Facebook comments. So check it out. Hopefully we'll see you soon at Hubbard's Marina. Hopefully we'll see you September 13th. 7 p.m. at Krabby's on the Pass for our next in-person fishing conversation. And then October 2nd at Bass Pro Shops. Hopefully, we're waiting to confirm that one. October 11th at Bartow Ford, 6 p.m. with Captain Scott Moore. Hopefully, we'll see you next weekend for another episode of our live stream show. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Also, don't forget to check out our friends over at Gator Gyms Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. Check out Hubbard's Marina on TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Facebook, Nextdoor app, Fishbrain app, Waypoint TV app, Trovo, and Twitch. And then big shout out to our sponsors at the Real Animals Radio Show, Garmin Electronics, Yamaha Outboards, Bass Pro Shops, Engel Coolers, Salt Strong, Aquatic Nutrition, Sport Fishing Chums. And don't forget, guys, to come out and see us at Hubbard's Marina. We got lighter loads now, 20, 30, 40 people on our midweek trips. Weekends get a little busier still, but light loads, slower Hubbard's Marina, great opportunity to get out in the water during the week. And we've got great weather this week. Awesome weather Monday through Thursday, Friday. So get out there on the water this week, take advantage of it, and hopefully we'll see you next week for another episode of the live stream show. Let's see who won our 39-hour fishing trip for one guest. 39-hour fishing trip for one guest. Lucky winner is Scott Young from Marion, Wisconsin. Scott Young from Wisconsin. Congratulations. You got 5 minutes or less, Scott. Claim that free trip by texting us your full home address at the number below. We'll hopefully see all of you guys out there on the water for some of our fishing fun. And don't forget, again, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Thanks for watching tonight, guys. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out. And we appreciate all of you guys for your support. Check out the Supporters After Show if you're a supporter, 9:45 p.m. We might be a few minutes late, but we're going to get over there immediately. So hop over to the Supporters Show, and hopefully we'll see you on there. Y'all have a good night. Tight lines. We'll see you next week. Thanks for coming.